Hey everybody. I try to keep politics and governmental issues out of my videos, um, but the timing is coming to be very relevant in this one particular topic that I've been wanting to discuss, and I think this week is the week that I want to bring it up, and we may bring it up again depending on how things go in the world. Um, Lately, there's been a big push from the government to recognize that the United States, if not the world, but definitely the United States, has an epidemic on their hands, and that epidemic is the addiction to pain medicine. Um, I have been saying for many, many years that this was induced by government, and in the last few weeks, we see that the things that I've been telling people is coming out, and the light is being shed. Um, there's a number of you out there which I do not cast blame, or do I cast fault on. You guys are taking more medication than you are prescribed. Perhaps you're addicted to pills or opiates, and I want you to reach out to me and I will help you. There's places that we can talk to, and we can help you out. Um, and on my behalf, I want to say to you guys that I'm sorry you're in that situation, and I'm here to talk to always. That's what crawl, walk, jump is all about. But there's also a group of people out there that are on these pain medications, much like myself, after surgery, and we're not addicted to the medication, but we are dependent on the medication. And there's a few things that the government and private industry is doing to restrict our intake, and is going to affect those that are taking it legitimately, because of those who are not. The first thing I want to talk about is the difference between an addict and someone who is dependent. Someone who is dependent on their medication, like myself, I'm not ashamed to tell you, I'm on hydrocodone, and I'm on fentanyl. And I am able to take both under the prescriptions that I'm given, but my body is very dependent on those two medications. I'm not ashamed of this. I've been on them since 2009, and for you, those that are wondering, that's over 8 years. And that is not something that I'm proud of, but it's a product of having the two titanium rods and a great number of screws in my back from the spinal surgery that I had to not to correct but to stop the scoliosis. So I am dependent. I do not take more than prescribed, and I'm proud to say that I actually, some days, I'm able to take less. On the other hand, there are people out there that are addicts. We all know what an addict is. They are maybe prescribed medication. They take the medication in copious amounts, much more than they are prescribed. The prescription runs out, and they are on a binge to do anything and everything they can to get the medication that they are addicted to, and they are constantly looking for their next fix. They take much more than is prescribed, and they are very destructive to themselves and those around them. This affects themselves, their families, their friends, the few people that are left. And they leave a wake of destruction behind them as their addiction becomes worse and worse. I'm not here to judge you. I'm right beside you. There's a fine line between being an addict and being a dependent. And I am cognizant and grateful that I'm able to be aware of that fine line, and I'm able to stay on the dependent side of the issue. The second thing I want to talk about is the fact that the government and private industry is now taking a stand to correct the epidemic that they've caused. Back in, just about the same time that I was having my surgery, doctors were handing out these opiates in copious amounts, and it was no big thing. Vicodin, Oxycontin, hydrocodone, morphine, fentanyl. It was all very easy to get. It was the drug of choice for doctors to put you on. And many years later, the government now realizes that they should have been regulating those drugs much harder, and now they're going to start doing so. But the problem I have is that they are now affecting the people that are dependent on those drugs. Because most of us are dependents. Most of us are dependent on the drugs, and they're not looking to take away the effects of the medication. They're not saying that they're not judging us for being on them. But what they're doing is they're regulating how much we can get, and they're regulating when we can get them. And that means that right now, I have a burden each month, whereas I have to go to a pain clinic and pick up a prescription that is specifically only good for 1 month, which means I must schedule my life around that one appointment. I've done this for over 8 years now, and I'm okay with that. I understand that the government must regulate who and what is handed out. However, I look at the fact that now pharmaceutical companies want to step in and they want to start regulating how much I'm able to get in one time. And there has been talk of this getting to the point where I may need to go get a prescription every week. Let me let that sink in. I would have to go to a doctor every week and get a prescription for the medication that I've been on for 8 years that I am now dependent on. And don't get me wrong, I am trying very hard to get off of all of this because I know that it is destroying my body internally. So, what I want you to take away from this is that there are people that these regulations are going to help. Those that are abusing these drugs and are destroying families and destroying people. Those are the people that I am very grateful that this topic has come up. But there are people like myself who are taking the medication because we need it, and we are taking it within our means, within the prescribed means, and I am now going to quote unquote pay for the destruction and the destructive path that the government has allowed to happen in this epidemic. Anyway, the moral of this video is that there are two different types of people in this situation. There are addicts, and there is an epidemic, and fentanyl is leading the charge in this epidemic. It is 1,000 times stronger than heroin, and I'm very well aware of this power. But there are also dependents, and those are the people like myself who are on the medication because of surgeries and probably won't get totally off of it in my lifetime. But I'm not abusing it. I'm not selling it. I'm not doing any of that. I'm legitimately taking the medication. And so having this epidemic come to light in one sense is amazing, and it's great, and I'm glad that it is. But I think the regulations need to be looked at, and I think that they need to think about who these regulations are affecting. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope that we can expand on this discussion. So until next week, much love.